Well, hey, hope you're having an incredible Monday so far. I wanted to just fill you in on what happened this weekend in church. We've been running the Summer-ized for the last couple of weeks, and it's something we're going to continue to do over the summer. Maybe you were at the cottage, Wi-Fi wasn't too reliable. Maybe you're just catching up on the weekends, you were out for the week. Whatever it is, we want to give you just a quick summary of what's been happening in church and what we spoke about this past Sunday. And we had the absolute honor and privilege of having Pastor Matt McCloghry from Colonial Church in Florida to share with us on an important topic, the topic of rest. And I think for so many people, when you think about this idea of rest, we live in such high-paced, hurried cultures. We're moving from deadline to deadline, from appointment to appointment, from pursuit to pursuit. And I think it's almost a lost art, this art of resting. And Pastor Matt really broke this down, that rest ultimately isn't just a good idea, it's really a God idea. And that's the first point that he shared, is that God establishes our rest. And that's a really important thing for you and me to realize, is that this isn't just a set of good principles to live by, but even when you look at the creation story in Genesis, God creates the heavens and the earth, He creates man, He creates all of this stuff, and on the seventh day He rested. He built rest into our rhythm of life. And even think about in early Jewish culture, the Sabbath is such an important part of Jewish culture even still today. But the Sabbath wasn't something that was at the end of the week, it was actually something at the beginning of the week. So in other words, even for anxious Jewish people, when they looked at their week, they actually started their week from a place of rest, rather than working themselves and then retreating and trying to find rest. And that's a beautiful distinction, that God actually established this rhythm. He established this cadence of rest that we all ought to have in our lives. Secondly, Pastor Matt talked about the idea that you need rest and that I need rest. It needs to be something that's personal. And I think, again, it's so easy to look at somebody else's life and go, okay, well, that person definitely needs to take a break, that person needs to take a vacation. And the hardest person to apply it to is ourselves. And yet, if we're really gonna live a life that goes the distance, if we're really gonna live a life of impact and of influence, I think we've got to realize that rest actually starts with me, it starts with you. And I love what it says in Psalm 23. It's a beautiful verse that God makes me lie down in green pastures. In other words, God is the architect of our rest, but it's something that's personal. It's not just this far off idea. It's not just this great idea in theory, but it's something personal that we need to establish and apply in our lives on a personal basis and on a personal level. And so whatever that looks like for you, maybe it's taking a vacation, maybe it's time with God to just kind of renew your soul, whatever it is. How does rest apply to you as an individual? It's not something that's away from us. It's not something that's beyond us or something that's beneath us. Each and every one of us need rest. And finally, Pastor Matt talked about the idea that Jesus actually has perfected our rest. I think even more existentially, when we think about our lives, there's so much that can separate us and so much that can make us feel like we're on this hurried pace to be able to earn something. Maybe you're trying to live up to people's expectations. Maybe it's even some of the sin in your life and some of the weights that you have in your life and feeling like, man, I'm not good enough. I don't have enough. I can't do enough. And yet the beautiful reality is that when Jesus died on the cross, He actually died to give us His peace, to give us His rest. And if we can find rest in amongst our sin and looking at our deficiencies in life, looking at Christ going, wow, He died for me so I can rest. There's no work that I can do to earn God's favor. Then ultimately, I think that gives us the ability to apply that to so many other areas in our life. And so for you, I wonder where you need to be reminded that God has actually perfected your rest. That on the cross, it was perfected. And that's a beautiful thing and a beautiful distinction that I think we all need to take inventory of. And that ultimately gives us the ability to even find rest in a busy and high-paced world. I love what it says in Matthew 11. It says when Jesus is talking to His disciples, He says, are you tired? Are you burnt out? Are you worn out? Are you burnt out on religion? Come to me and I'll help you find real rest. And for you, that's our hope, is that you would find rest in this season. And I want to encourage you, if you want to see the whole sermon, you can go to YouTube or Facebook. We've got the sermon on there. I want to encourage you to listen to it, maybe share it with a friend that you think it would benefit. But hey, we're believing that this week would be an incredible week, that it would be a week that you would find rest and restoration in Jesus. We'll see you soon.